That sound does not get, oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. I'm just playing with my H&K G36 that costs less than 2 grand. Yeah, that's right, it costs less than 2 grand. Let's get into it. Well, I'm going to be extremely straightforward here, guys. This is the H&K G36 that we finally have at home. This is the H&K G36C from S5 Tactical and HK Parts. I know all of you guys who are listening are just itching to go Google that on your computer. So I'm going to get the brands out of the way. Yes, S5 Tactical receiver with an HK Parts G36C kit. And today I have shot 3,000 rounds through this in the last 3 weeks, which is probably more than most of you guys will shoot in a year. Just because I want to figure out if it's reliable. Does it encounter the same issues as previous G36C kits? Because this is not true H&K G36, although it looks true H&K G36. And more importantly, is it reliable, right? Are we going to be taking this to war? Before I get too deep into this, guys, you probably know that YouTube does not like me and they do not pay very much money. So in addition to working a full-time job, I have to thank the channel sponsors. That's Gideon Optics, that's HSL Ammunition. If you need high quality optics, I would check out Gideon Optics. They are a very reasonable price for what you're getting. You're getting high quality optics designed by people in the US, and they're coming out with a Mediator XL, which is like a Romeo AT clone. Esque type gun. SIG, don't sue them. And then HSL Ammunition. If you see me shoot 5.56, it's probably sent to me by HSL Ammunition. Not only do they have the best price on the market for ammo, but they have good quality rounds that I shoot all the time non-stop at the range, and I haven't had any issues. So obviously, if you use the code PLEASE at any of those retailers or any of the people down below, it tells them to support my channel. And of course, our final channel sponsor, you. I have to thank you guys for taking the time to watch my videos and commenting down below. YouTube's been on a tangent. They've given everyone strikes. They've been taking down our videos, and you guys actually make it happen. So I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my videos every week and making it possible for me to be able to review guns like this and do videos like this for you guys. I love it. Now, a lot of people hate on the H&K G36C because they say it's just a plastic AR-18, and they're technically correct, except for this is a good gun. There's no reason to hate on the H&K G36C. So let's go over some of the features that make this kit really, really good, and I think stand out over its competition, if I even say that, because like I mentioned, this is an HK Parts kit and a S5 Tactical receiver that I put together myself, coming in at under $2,000, and that's how you're going to build it too. If you have zero gunsmithing experience, this took me 15 minutes to put together. It might take you an hour if you know nothing about guns. You'll need a barrel nut wrench and a mandrel, obviously, to be able to hold this in place and then wrench it together, but those are both sold at HK Parts when you go and get the kit anyway, so easy for you to go and get. If you don't have any experience, a gunsmith can definitely put this together for you, and it will take him also like an hour, so he should only charge you for an hour of labor. And then if you're also really desperate, you don't want to wait for a gunsmith to put together, you want one assembled, there are guys who've been buying these and scalping them and then selling them for like $800 more on Gunbroker, and you can go that route if you want to pay the $800 fee to not have to assemble one yourself and trust Gunbroker scalpers. So let's talk about this kit. How did they make it affordable? Why did they make it affordable? And obviously, is it any good? Is it worth your dinero? I think that this kit has taken what was a grail gun for me and turned it into really an achievable dream gun, which I now own. So really cool that it is achievable for me. And I think now it has become reachable for a lot more people, because if you know anything about the G36C or you've wanted one for a while, they were extremely, extremely expensive. We're talking as much as a car, $4,500. But now with the kit under 2 grand, coming in at around $2,000 completed, you're opening it up to a whole lot more people and a whole lot more working class people like myself who can actually afford 2 grand on a gun. So now, as promised, we're getting into some of the features that I think make this stand out. First and foremost, it doesn't creak. It's not cheap plastic. It doesn't creak. It's not a creaky gun. Really solid design, very solid build. You should listen to me on this. I'm actually somewhat of a G36 knower, having hands-on over 12 real H&K G36s for over a year, and just playing with them, looking at them, examining them. I have had a lot of experience with real H&K G36s, Now mine were the KE model when I had them, but the C model is just a shorter barrel variant. So what makes this super different than an H&K G36, the nitty gritty of it, that's what we're gonna get into. Hopefully you HK nerds who are watching don't stab me too hard, because I'm gonna bash the actual HK G36, and then I'm also definitely gonna bash the Tommy built version because it's not that great. First and foremost, the kit is an 8.9 inch barrel, as you should with the G36C. Now it's not chrome lined, however, I shot my longest shot with this at 800 plus yards. I think it was like 850 yards, 750 meters. So 850 yards. And we shot this with the barrel after firing over 1,200 rounds through it. So worth noting, it doesn't feed Hornady Frontier ammo. It hates it with a passion. So that is actually what I shot it with 68 grain Frontier ammo. I shot the 800 yard shot, but I could only load 2 rounds in the magazine, because if I loaded more than 2, it would induce a double feed and ruin 2 rounds, and that's expensive ammo. That being said, it works great with SIG 77 grain OTM. So I used the SIG 77 grain to get my 100 yard grouping. And with the Romeo 8T that I have on top and the 5X magnifier, I managed to get a sub 2 inch grouping with a few flyers, of course, at 100 yards. And then, like I said, first round impact and second round almost impact at 800 yards, making this what I would consider to be a gun that will outshoot you, even though it doesn't have a chrome lined barrel. I have my own beliefs about chrome lining. I don't like it, so for it to not have a chrome lined barrel, it's good to me. I'm okay with that. And I know that's going to set a bunch of people off, but it also helps keep the cost of the kit down, which is a big thing when you're trying to buy one of these, the cost of the kit. So if you want a chrome lined barrel, obviously you can go and source one outside of this kit and put it together yourself if that's a non sequitur for you, if that's a non-starter and you have to have chrome lined. If you're going to do G36C, then go ahead and source one outside of the kit. But the kit only comes with a 9 inch regular barrel. And again, like I said, accuracy is good on this. It's a fantastically accurate gun, and I would not be making a shot on the regular with this at 800 yards ever, because it's a 9 inch barreled 5.56. That being said, the dwell time on the barrel is really good because the gas system, if you guys don't know anything about H&Ks, the gas system's all the way up at the front. It's all the way at the very, very front of the barrel there. It starts to bleed off. You get a lot of dwell time with the round, making these rounds come out at about 2,500 FPS, which is faster than most 9 inch barrels on ARs. So really cool. Even though it's got a short barrel, you do get the 2,500 frangible velocity out of the gun. Now that is obviously direct at muzzle, but if you're using a 9 inch gun inside of a building, you are direct at muzzle with most of your targets. So you should get the terminal velocity on most of your targets if you have to use this in a defensive situation, which I think is very cool. Another feature I want to highlight, because I think it's worth noting, the charging handle on this, obviously it's an ambi charging handle, just like every G36. I have mine wrapped in goon tape because it is metal. If you whack in and on it, it stays in place. There is no slipping forward. That being said, if you whack outwards on it, it'll always come out, because if you think about it, when you're doing this, you are pressing it into place, and that's how it stays. So when you pull out on it, it's obviously going to flop forward. If you have it pressed in place and you whack forward on it like this, like you're supposed to at the angle, it will not come out of place, which is an advantage over similar kits. The trigger is actually not that great. It's as you would expect from every HK G36. That being said, it is better than other kits that I've had hands on. It is a firm, crisp 8-pound break. 8 pounds, you heard me right, is definitely a combat trigger. There is no roll. It's a straight up 8 pounds and then it breaks. I would be lying if I said, well, I was shooting long range. I didn't multiple times think that I still had the safety on when I went to pull the trigger because of just how hard of a trigger pull it is. However, it's an HK trigger, and it is as HK likes them to be, which is a nice, heavy, heavy pull. That being said, there are multiple companies now working on AR trigger conversions for these, and I suspect that that will be accelerated by this video when you guys watch this and realize you can get one of these, and they sell a whole lot more of them. So always remember, obviously, demand for a product creates innovation for that product. So if there's no demand, which there isn't, because historically these have been $4,500 unobtainium, so they've been on the back burner of these people's minds and the back burner of these companies' project boards. But as demand increases, because the availability increases of the $2,000 G36C, I think that the timeline for when this will be available will accelerate. In addition to that, other products that are coming out, and hopefully the timeline accelerates. Haga Defense HDA3 brace right here is what I have on the rear. It is mounted via the HK Parts Picatinny adapter, which has added a cost to my kit of $116. They are making a direct mount G36 version of this. It's just not ready and it's not released because, again, like I said, not a huge demand for it because it's such an expensive gun and not a very common gun, and so it's been on the back burner of their minds. I suspect with the launch of this video and hopefully you guys sharing the heck out of it and commenting down below so it reaches people, maybe starting political debates in the comments, I don't know, we will be able to get them to have more of a demand for this, and then they'll finish it because I think they make the best brace on the market, and if it could just be direct mount for the G36, it would be a lot better. On mine, you'll notice I have removed my front sight and I've mounted an SMS laser. This is just a white light and an IR laser and a visible laser. So this is not the SMS HFXC that you'll usually see me run. This is a cheap $79 version that they have. It doesn't have the IR illuminator in it. It's also way more waterproof because of that, and then it's got the white light, an IR laser, and a standard laser, which I think is fantastic. Most of the time I don't find myself using an IR illuminator anyway. I find myself using the IR beam to beam targets because my night vision does a fine job of letting me see. I've got it paired with the Romeo 8T. I think that fits nicely on this type of gun, and also I already had it, so I didn't have to buy that for it. And then a Stealth Additive Works flow-through can on here because, yeah, I think that makes sense. I did purchase the rail kit from HK Parts, and then I didn't put the side rails on because it seemed like it got too bulky. They sell the B&T rail. It's way too much money for me. I'm too poor. So just the bottom rail with this, and then I taped my laser switch onto the side here, and it seems to be perfect for me. So in terms of reliability, which I think is what everyone's going to ask next, yes, the gun is reliable with some caveat. And I'm going to say that because I need to say that. I'm always honest with you guys on my reviews, and I love this gun, and I do think it's worth getting. However, like I said, with some caveat. So I have only been able to run this with Magpul PMags, and I've only been able to run this with Magpul PMags because the Magpul PMags cost $22. The actual authentic HK mags cost over $100, and I am not a wealthy man, so I cannot buy them. So that being said, I do think that it's okay to blame some of the malfunctions and say I'm just not using the right magazines. I don't think that's very out of line at all. I've modified this magazine with a little bit of sandpaper to put the Pylon +5 on it because I think it looks cool. And like I said, when I do have a malfunction, or if I need to bash a malfunction out of the gun, I use the base plate, this metal base plate, to bash the malfunction out on this charging handle and not hurt my hand a whole bunch. So really cool, but yeah, when I do get those malfunctions, what induces them? And I think that's worth noting. It's high back pressure cans that seem to be the ticket for me. And I will say, my buddy bought one of these at the exact same time as me. He doesn't have as many rounds through his as I do. I have 3,000 rounds through it in 3 weeks. I've been shooting the absolute piss out of this gun. I'm running a thread adapter. This adapts it to a 1/2 by 28 thread, which gives it a rear-end muzzle device, and I'm running the rear-end muzzle mount on here with cans. My Stealth Additive Works can does not have very many issues at all. I have almost no problems. If I superheat the gun, I shoot it a whole bunch, and then I spam fire, I can induce this exact same malfunction, and we're going to talk about what it is, how to fix it, and then obviously I think S5 might be able to fix it on future batches. But like I said, I'm the only one I know of who has this malfunction. I've checked forums and I can't find it from anyone else, so it might be just a me problem and I'm SOL. But like I said, with this Stealth Additive Works can, it's a non-issue, but with high back pressure cans, like I used the ABA-10, which is the highest back pressure can in existence, and it's the reason I wanted to test this so much, and the reason I test this with multiple cans. It's a super high back pressure can. If you fire a burst, like 2 rounds, you're not going to have this problem most of the time. Most of the time is key, because when you fire burst, like you just shoot really quickly, every single time you will have an induced malfunction, and that is from the brass being slammed so hard into the brass deflector that instead of bouncing out and away, it bounces back into the chamber of the gun as the bolt slides forward, and when the bolt slides forward, it's picking up another round, and you induce a double feed, hence destroying the first round and destroying the shell that you've tried to eject. And unfortunately, that results in almost always a mag drop, rack the thing, drop the round out. And like I said, on occasion, I'll rack it, the first round will come out, the damaged round will seed, and then I need to get that round out, and I can't pull it out with the charging handle, so we drop it, we use the Pylon metal mag extension and bash the handle. When we bash the handle, the gun comes out and it's back to functioning. Doesn't take that long to clear. You get a lot of malfunction practice if you are shooting with a high back pressure can. And then, like I said, my buddy's been shooting with proper cans that are a direct mount with no muzzle device adapter on his, and he hasn't had this problem at all. So he's running just B&T cans that are 100% sealed, and he's not having this issue in any way, shape, or form. Thankfully, I have the slow-mo camera, so I can see the issue. And like I said, it should be a very, very easy fix. So that's why I'm saying one caveat. Most of you, I would assume, are not going to run this suppressed. And then if you are running it suppressed, you're going to probably want a flow-through can anyway, because I always assume that people know to do this. This is a non-adjustable gas piston system. So if you're not running a flow-through can, you are sending a ton of gas into this since it's non-adjustable, and you are shortening the lifespan of your firearm. So I recommend running flow-through cans on something like this anyway, just to expand the lifespan of your firearm. But if you're going to run a closed system, just be aware you may encounter that issue. If you do, it's super easy to fix. I'm gonna fix mine right after I finish filming here today because I got to review the slow-mo footage. I'm literally just going to take a Dremel, and I'm gonna take 1 degree off of the brass deflector. So that way when the round smacks it at a super high velocity, it's no longer at an angle where it bounces back and in, but it's at an angle where it allows it to bounce out of the gun, and that should completely solve the issue. I will note that the other time I had a malfunction was today, and this is 3,000 rounds. It was today, and it may have been a Magpul PMA related issue because I had a double feed. I don't have real mags to test it with. I just don't. It's not something I can afford, so it's not something I bought. And like I said, this is the budget build, so I think most of you guys will be buying 5 Magpul PMags instead of 1 H&K G36 mag for your gun. So that being said, if you are going to run this, run it with a low back pressure can or no can, or apparently I'm just a dummy, and if you get a direct mount muzzle device and run the B&T cans like it was designed to be run with, then you won't have that problem probably, more than likely. Again, obviously if you do end up having that issue, just shave it down with a Dremel, which I know will make your H&K G36 so sad because it's no longer a perfect condition clone, but if you're going to run the gun right. So for me, I'm just going to do that. The cool part is the guys at S5 and HK Parts really do care about having the best G36C on the market and actually making it just the best. So much so that I wouldn't be surprised if Bo changed his molding to adapt to this if other people have this issue. Like I said, as far as I can tell, I'm the only one who's having this issue, who's had this problem. So it might just be that my brass deflector happens to be at the exact angle where it's bouncing the resonance back inside the gun. So really cool. I'm glad that I have enough credit card debt that I have the slow-mo camera so I can just diagnose these issues and see that it's a very, very easy fix for me on my end. And obviously for me, that doesn't discount the gun because I've been running it with this can anyway, a flow-through can anyway. I just wanted to test it for you guys. So, and that does happen with the AB can as well as the Whip Machine can. And the Whip Machine is what I would consider a medium back pressure can, definitely not a high back pressure can by any stretch of the imagination. So the way mine is set up, it's just pretty gassed up anyway. So getting too much back pressure will cause a malfunction. So like I said, 3,000 rounds through this. I think it's an absolutely fan-freaking-tastic firearm. I think it's amazing that HK Parts and S5 have decided to come out and make it affordable instead of jacking up the price or even making it like 10% cheaper than the Tommy built version that doesn't work. They decided, okay, we're going to make ours, we're going to make it good, we're going to make it high quality, and then we're going to make it half the price of the Tommy built, and they are really sticking to their guns on that one. So I think that's fantastic. I don't know of another company in this industry or in this economy that's doing that, but it does make this gun what I would consider reachable for a lot of people now that it comes in at this price point. The only other thing I think is worth dispelling, there've been a lot of like FUD myths on the H&K G36. It's a polymer AR-18, which yes it is. This handguard does not get hot enough to melt. So just so you guys know, and like I said, they do sell the metal B&T quad rail. They also sell a metal top rail from B&T, which you can get for it if you want. I haven't had any zero shift with the plastic one in any way, shape, or form, so I have no problems running the polymer ones. It's what they run on the real deal anyway, so it's what I'm going to run on mine. I haven't gotten this handguard hot enough to melt it, and also since it's a piston-driven AR, they have a tendency to get super hot. So if you guys don't know, the Spear LT overheats. It gets hot, and you can't touch the handguard because it gets so freaking hot. So do most piston-driven guns. The Jackal is notoriously the worst one. If you fire a few mags through your Jackal, you won't be able to touch it at all, and it gets so hot that it goes down into the receiver, and eventually you can't even rest your hand on the front of the receiver if you're doing a lot of fire through these. This one, since it's polymer, doesn't get hot enough to melt. It hasn't gotten hot enough to melt, at least for me, at all. And I fire a lot of rounds through this in any sequence. The hottest it's gotten is just noticeably me going, wow, that's really hot. not burning my hand because it's polymer, and then obviously the heat dissipates a lot faster because it is polymer. So really cool design. I haven't had any of the issues that the FUDs will tell you that you'll have with something like a polymer upper or lower receiver on a polymer gun. But yeah, it's not real. That's an absolute myth, and that's worth dispelling. Like I said, the charging handle stays in place. I've wrapped mine with goon tape because it is metal and this softens it a little bit, and if I'm whacking it to whack it forward, it hurts really bad. So wrapping it with goon tape made it feel a lot more comfortable to me. I also goon taped my grip because it's just like, there are no other options for HK grips. If you guys know me, then you know I like my grips to bite my hands, and they just don't with this. So this made it a little bit grippier, something to grip onto at least, and then I put some tape up here. I expect to use this for some cold weather use because it is piston driven, and like I said, it's pretty high gas, which means that it'll probably do really, really great in cold weather, and I just really want to test it. It's going to get real cold here in Utah where I am, and so I think it'll be a great cold weather use gun, which means I want some fabric here and definitely some fabric on the metal charging handle so I don't freeze my hands, or if I touch it with my wet, cold hands, it doesn't eat them alive. So that's it, guys. There's not a whole lot more to say on this. If you want it, you know where to get it by now. I think this is amazing. It's reliable, and it is in fact the G36C that we have at home and that we can afford, which I think is fan-freaking-tastic. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, I'll catch you on the flippity flip.